You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland Professional Diploma in Dermatology Information Briefing Session. Thank you so much for joining us. We have registrants from all over the globe, but predominantly Europe and North America, Caribbean, etc. So thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Just to let you know that we do encourage and we love to see questions and interaction with our attendees. So if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, there is an orange arrow at the top right hand corner. If you press that, that brings you to your GoToWebinar panel. And in there, you will see the questions section. You're most welcome to put your question in there. It is private question and we can answer privately, but if we deem it to be very relevant and pertinent to the whole audience, we will then reply all. And that means both your question and the answer will be visible to the whole of the attendees. But we love to see interaction, we love to see questions. So please, please put them in the questions. It just makes for a nicer experience for everyone. Just before I go any further though, I just want to clarify that this program, for eligibility purposes, you must be a physician, nurse, pharmacist or dentist. So if you are attending and you're not in that professional category, unfortunately, this program is not for you and we don't want to waste your time. So I do apologize for that, and I hope that everybody who is in attendance is eligible to join the program. So the running order for today, everyone, is that our Head of Academic Affairs for Delivery for Royal College of Physicians of Ireland programmes is Mr. Ian Rowe. He will be giving you a programmatic overview of the program, and he will be joined intermittently with the program manager, who is Mr. Matt Conroy Trevino, and he will be the one you'll see most of if you decide to join the program, because he will be looking after all your needs and making sure that hopefully you're very successful on the program and that you enjoy your experience. So you have to be good to Matt and Ian, just to let you know. So we do welcome the questions, as I said, but just to let you know, all in terms of frequently asked questions, Ian will be going through the curriculum, he will be going through the pricing, the time commitments, everything that the general overview of the program and the general frequently asked questions. So we hope we will cover everything, but just in case we don't, please pop all those questions into us, and we have a whole team on standby. Josh is one of our program leads and education advisors for this program, and he's here on standby to answer all of your questions here this evening. So, but without any further delay, I'll hand you over to Ian.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope this will be an informative session. We'll bring you through a broad range of the topics that you'll cover. As Rebecca mentioned, we'll look at the scheme of assessment, the overall program delivery, the structure of the week that the students kind of fall into, and just, I suppose, what you can expect from joining the program. So this will be the second running of the program. Normally for these, we do tend to try and lean on an alumni to come and give their experience of the program. It kind of keeps us honest, because we've designed this program thinking that it's going to take X amount of hours a week to kind of get through the content. We suggest people log on every other day, but sometimes people will say that they actually only get protected time on the weekend. So it's great to get the people who've been through the course, their perspective. However, as the course only launched back in May, the group haven't even had their first exam yet. So until they have reached that point, I don't want to push someone in front of a camera and get them to give a half-baked experience. So instead of that, I've asked the program manager, Matt, to join me for the kind of first initial chat of the program. He has been looking after the 120 odd students that are currently on the program, helping them, shepherd them through all of the queries that they have. He's had experience of the discussions and of the assessments to date. So I suppose let's just start with a little bit of a chit chat about kind of how the program is running, and then we'll go into the slides. So I suppose, Matt, the first question will be, how have you found we have 5 different groups at the moment in different time zones. How have you found the commitment level to the discussions? Let's start with the discussions. Are people joining in with the case studies?
The commitment level is kind of varying, and it seems to depend just really on how busy the students are with their own clinical work. Um, I think once we get further into the course, we'll probably see a bit more buy-in. But like I'd say like most students are putting in maybe about half an hour to an hour to discussions. So I mean, it's not a lot in the grand scheme.
Yeah, I think what we tend to say is, that we have full-time clinicians doing a part-time course. So, it's trying to find that balance of fitting in the program into your already busy work-life balance, which is already tenuous at best when you throw in the tail end of a pandemic. So I think the course has been built by healthcare professionals for healthcare professionals. So it's done in such a way that you can dip in and out of the content as needed. And the discussions, again, we find are a great way of helping to kind of pin the cases together for that week's content, and also a way of making sure that you, as a participant, have a link to your group. Online learning can sometimes be a little bit isolating or a little bit lonely. So we try to, again, have these touch points throughout the week, not just the online tutorials. And that will kind of segue into, I suppose, the next question, Matt. We try to avoid having what we would consider didactic tutorials. How have you found the tutoring team are bringing out the kind of facilitated discussions? Are the students enjoying the presentations?
So, from my experience of sitting in on a few of the tutorials, what the tutors ask of the students is they ask them their opinions on the material, and then they ask them to apply the material maybe to their own experience in their own clinical work. And that seems to be really good at stimulating conversation within the tutorials, because as you mentioned, we have students from all over the world. So you'll have doctors who work in Ireland and the UK, which would be relatively, would be kind of similar-ish, and then you'd have doctors who are in the Caribbean, and some in in the states around the Persian Gulf, and they're all coming together and giving their own experiences on the material, and it's quite interesting to hear the differences, but also the similarities.
Yeah, no, I think that's again one of the strengths of the courses that we run are the global participants, and the fact that you can hear what's happening in rural Malaysia compared to the Caribbean, compared to here. I think we have Dr. Kylie joining us at the moment now. I think it might just be over audio.
Hi. Yeah,
Hey, how
hi.
are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, this is perfect. And this will actually segue really perfectly, because you actually currently look after one of, I suppose, the more diverse international groups that we have. So how have
Yeah.
you found, as the tutor, how have you found the kind of the discussions or the tutorials? Are they quite interactive
Good.
between people chatting about their experiences?
Yeah, very. I'm actually logging in from Scotland at the moment. I'm at the British Association of Dermatologists conference. So the virtual platform is great for the clinicians as well as the students. So we can keep going in continuity. So yeah, we've a very, very wide range of different clinicians from different backgrounds, which really adds to it, I think, because all the different students really bring their own experience and what they see in clinic, and that really helps to contribute to people contributing different aspects of their learning. And some people might be stronger on certain presentations than others, so they can kind of help each other learn from that. But yeah, no, it's been brilliant so far.
And the way that the course, I know, again, you're only in block 2 at the moment, but I suppose, how have you found the course progressing through the topics? Is it structured in such a way that it kind of follows a logical path of presentations and treatments and diagnoses?
Yes, and what I think is really important is it's common conditions. It's conditions you're going to see every day. It's not abstract theory. It's something that it's relevant to you, it's relevant to your practice. Things like eczema, psoriasis, it's bread and butter of dermatology, and you're really going to see it. And I think it separates it in such a way that makes it easy to understand, and and follows a plan. So you're moving from those conditions to maybe trickier, more complicated conditions, but really the principles of dermatology are there throughout. And I think you're building on those principles at every week. So no, I think it's a kind of a easy to follow program. And as I said, very clinically relevant.
Yeah, no. So I think because one of the slides later on is, I suppose, the program structure or the program overview of like the content that's there, and it does show that there's a range of topics covered here. But I suppose there are common themes that kind of keep on coming through, and it's also a lot of patient focus.
Yeah.
So I suppose, who do you think would benefit the most from participating on this program?
I think GPs in particular would find this really, really beneficial, because it's again showing you the common presentations, what investigations can be done initially, and when are the important times to refer on for expert opinions, what are the basic management that can be and should be started in a community level. And I think it's also really beneficial for people who might have an interest in dermatology and want to go into a career in dermatology, because it gives them an oversight of a lot of the different conditions that we do see every day, and the management of those common conditions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I suppose one of the other questions I'll just ask about then as well is, while we haven't, with the current group, had the exam yet, they have had their first assessment. And the assessment that we do with the RCPI programs is kind of twofold. The exams tend to look at the clinical decision making, patient focused patient cases. The communication skills then are tested in a video submission. And I suppose, how have you found the collection of those videos? Is it an important part of the program to have the the communication skills being tested?
Absolutely, and it's an interesting aspect, and I think the importance of it has really come to light whilst I've been going through the different communication sessions, just highlight just how important good communication is, even in dermatology. I mean, one red rash can look like another red rash. You need to really get a good history, and that's going to be the basis for any diagnosis you're going to make. Developing a good rapport with patients and understanding the aspects that affect them the most from a quality of life point of view, because so many dermatological conditions have such significant impact on quality of life. And I think it's in the communication session is really important for that and teasing out those important issues.
Yeah, obviously that they can be quite sensitive or psychological areas, so you do have to be very, very mindful of that.
Yeah.
It was the final thing that I'll ask you. Just, I know, obviously on a train, this just proves the dedication of the program members joining us here. The last thing I'll ask is just about the interactive simulations. So again, the course content, and I'll delve into more about this when I'm going through the slides. Just while I've got you on the phone, I suppose it's just to see, how did you find the simulations bring all of the content of a block together at the end?
Really good. It's based on problem-based learning, so you're going to remember the material much better when you have a patient to compare it to, and you're working through a simulation yourself, not dissimilar to what you'd be faced with seeing in clinic, and trying to go through the history. What are the important questions to ask? What are your differential diagnoses, your appropriate investigations, and why? And then the different management, and then I suppose getting the opportunity to go over it a few times if you don't get the right answer the first time, is really solidifying the learning material, and that's how you're going to remember it. It's not rote learning; it's experiential learning, really.
Yeah, no, and I think that kind of threads through all of the content that we've built on Canvas, on the learning platform. It's very interactive, very intuitive. Again, when I was in college, online learning was, here's your 3 hyperlinks to a couple of PDFs, and we'll see you in 6 months. Whereas this is a lot more immersive, a lot more, as I said, interactive, and just highly engaging content that's been built by our bespoke team. So look, Lisa, I think I will say thank you so much for joining. I'll let you get back to the conference, or get back on the way to the conference. So yeah, thank you so much, and enjoy the evening. And
Great. Thanks so much. Bye now.
Brilliant. So yeah, look, that is just again one of our tutors joining from a train. It's still not the most exotic. One of the tutors once delivered a program or delivered a session from off the coast of Montevideo. So there's again this international flair for the programs is not just confined to our participants. I suppose Matt, then I'll kind of dovetail on a couple of points that Lisa was making. Just about the interactive simulation. I know you've kind of dealt with a few of the questions that students have had about how they were interacting with that simulation. I suppose how important was it to I suppose relay to them that you don't have to get the 100% answer straight away off the bat? You know, the part of the learning is teasing through the case.
Yeah, the best explanation of it that I heard was from the lead of the program, Cathal O'Connor. He said that the simulation was designed in a way to kind of prove to the students that it's like you're unlikely when you meet a patient the first time, and you know, do a quick history taking and checking over their symptoms, that you'll get the diagnosis 100% right the first time. So that's the way the simulation is designed to show the students that it's important to pick up on as much as you can, but that you're unlikely to get it 100% right that very first time.
Yeah. No, and again, I think as Lisa was saying there, the fact that you can go back and redo it, and not actually have killed a real patient is great. It being a simulation and game and all that, very good learning experience. So yeah, and then one of the I suppose topic points that she was making, or that I asked her about, was the video submissions. So how have you found some of the students? Is there a reluctance or a nerve about having this recording done? Like, are people nervous about it, and what can we say to alleviate that concern?
So there seems to be nerves around. I think some of the students, they took it like it was kind of an acting exercise, and obviously not all of us have that skill set in our wheelhouse. But the best of the videos that I saw are the students who they treated it like a patient within their own clinic, and they just treated it like a real patient, like a real history taking, and it comes across much more natural that way. So that's the one thing that I would say to anyone listening, is that not get so bogged down in the fact that you're being filmed, because it's not your acting ability that we're marking. It's your history taking ability as a clinician.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we don't expect the Hollywood effects or soundtrack or anything like that. It is just a mock consultation to, again, really check on the communication skills. Again, look, I'll touch on this again in the slides, but the first one is completely formative as well. So there's no grade attached to the first one, so it's a bit like a mock version. I always like to say, no one enjoys hearing their voice or seeing themselves on screen. And I always say here, I'm not going to be rewatching this webinar. I'm not going to listen to myself garble through this for 45 minutes or an hour. But I think it's very important, and the communication skills are really, really important. RCPI have them down as like part of the course completion criteria. And they deal with, so the first one tends to be history taking, and then the second one tends to be about either treatment or diagnoses and how do you approach a sensitive topic. So again, they're both really important skill sets to be able to have. So yeah, I think I might just launch into the slides. I think there might be a couple of things that we can talk around when the slides are on. So let's just start sharing. Can you guys see that title screen there?
Yeah, I could see it.
Lovely, perfect. So yeah, so this is the professional diploma in dermatology. I suppose we always need to start with who are iheed. Everyone knows who RCPI are, who accredit the program and who we run the program with. So iheed is an Irish company, part of the Cambridge Education Group. So we specialize in online education, and we are the kind of the medical specialists within this group. We were founded by a family doctor in 2013, primarily to, I suppose, promote family medicine across the globe. So we have quite a strong link to the Middle East, quite a strong link to Malaysia. We now are across Europe as well, and we have a hub in Australia as well. So we're globally linked in with universities and ministries and other health regulators. We deliver prestigious medical qualifications to a global audience. Again, Lisa, who was there, she teaches on what we call the APAC group. So that's Asia Pacific. So that kind of covers, Australian, New Zealand, Malaysia, Japan, Singapore. Those students are grouped by a time zone. We also have, as I said, a large GCC group as well. And then there's the guys that have joined, or the majority of the people who will be listening to this will be our kind of European American group, again, grouped by time zone. And what we have done is we've taken the RCPI program and we've now transformed it so it's completely online, completely flexible, available for you to dip in and out on demand with the content that's available year round, but for the entirety of the course. And we deliver it to the global audience now. I have a feeling this slide is slightly out of date at this stage. I think we're closer to the 500,000, but we've had well over 400,000 course completions to date. And that ranges from our professional diplomas all the way up to our master's programs that we run as well. So we have a lot of experience in delivering these courses. For this particular course, we're linked in with the RCPI. Again, as I said, everyone knows who they are. Founded in 1654, leaders in medical education. They advise the government here. This particular postgraduate specialist training in dermatology is linked into the Institute of Medicine as well. So again, lots of oversight on the program that's been built and delivered in conjunction with the RCPI. Something I probably should have checked in with Lisa while she was on the phone, but something that I can explain is, dermatology as a specialism can take up to 8 years. And this program itself is an 8-month qualification. So again, we just need to, put a big asterisk here that it's not going to confer specialist status, but what this will be aimed at, or what this, who this course will benefit, are doctors working in primary care, nurses, pharmacists, and dentists as well, dealing with dermatological issues. And then in that sub-bracket, then the trainee doctors at early stages of the specialist training, or experienced practitioners looking for a refresher, or just looking for an additional formal qualification. I know continuous medical education or CPD is very important for people to kind of stay current and stay relevant. And I think for this course in particular, it's great for anyone that's going to be seeing the presentations themselves. So, people in that kind of primary care, who's going to be seeing the rash and who can make a diagnosis based on that, and then who can do the correct investigations, and then who can assign the correct treatment. So that's who that's aimed at. And at the end of the course, the academic qualification that you'll get is a professional diploma in dermatology from RCPI. There won't be any mention of iheed on the diploma. There won't be any mention of online learning or blended learning. It's the same piece of parchment you'd get if you had attended the kind of in-country or in-house program. The qualification is equivalent to 30 ECTS. It's recognized worldwide, and the CPD and CME that I mentioned will get you 60 hours recognized in RCPI. Now, again, for the global participants, regulators can grant different amounts. So it is, we can help you, I suppose, if you need to explore what amount of CPD you'll get. And then that final bullet point, just to reiterate that there's career benefits, but it doesn't confer the specialist status. So the overall program objectives then, just really quickly to look at them, it's to take a focused dermatological history and develop a comprehensive and structured knowledge of the examination of a patient with a skin concern. So again, you're going to be looking at someone is presenting with hives or a rash, or some clinical feature that you're going to have to use your clinical knowledge to, I suppose, work out what the issue is. As Lisa mentioned, the strength of the course, or one of the main strengths of the course, is that this looks at most of the common presentations, most of the things that you'll see in a real life situation or in real cases. And we want you to be able to, I suppose, put your detective hat on and, you know, investigate, solve the problems that are here, be able to take a history, be able to, you know, eliminate what it isn't. And also, I suppose, be able to know from the wide range how you can focus down to what area or topic it might be. And then it's also, I suppose, what we want you to do is take responsibility for the diagnostic and management decisions in clinical dermatology as well. So what we would often say in the majority of our courses is that we want you to build up or grow in confidence in what you know, but also what you don't know, and when it's time to, you know, refer on to a specialist. So the program structure, there's five, now 6 blocks, which we're now grouping as 3 modules, and each of those modules is going to be worth 10 ECTS for the CPD. Within that, there's 26 weeks of content. As well as that, there are going to be weeks off for reading weeks, you know, exam prep weeks. There's weeks off after assessments to give you a chance to, you know, recharge a little bit. And for those of you that join the August group, there's also going to be a break for Christmas and New Year's. So while it's 26 weeks of content, it's you know, closer to probably 35 or 40 weeks by the time everything is considered and you're getting your certificate sent to you. There's a discrete topic each week, and there's a slide later on that will go through what those topics are. But essentially, the course, and I mentioned this, that the course has been developed by healthcare professionals for healthcare professionals, structured into blocks that you can then, you know, deep dive into. It's what we call an accordion view of the content. So, you know, you'll click into week 1, which is the you know, history taking. It'll open up, you know, 3 or 4 subtopics. You can click in there, and then there's, you know, 3 or 4 again branching out. So you can really hone in on what you need to concentrate on in that week. The discrete topic each week does mean that the content, while available all year round, we do stop the discussion and open up the next discussion. So it is structured in kind of weekly chunks. That is more for everyone to be able to, I suppose, keep on top of the momentum of the course. While in the tutorial, you are, of course, welcome to ask any questions that you have about any topics. We also don't want people to be, you know, in week 7 still asking a lot about week 2. You know, there's a lot in each week that we need to keep that momentum going. And then there are common themes throughout the blocks, which you can kind of see there. You know, it's history taking, the investigations, the diagnoses, the management, and the follow-up. And then the 3 skills that we're looking for, again, across all the blocks. Your communication skills, which we will actually test in the recordings or the skills assessments. The diagnostic skills and the prescribing skills, which are tested then in the exam, the multiple choice exam. And that's more for your clinical decision making. So here's the program coverage. So yeah, blocks 1 and 2, where the current group currently are. As you can see, these are the common and the more specific presentations. So you're introduced to like eczema, psoriasis, acne, and rosacea, you know, bread and butter of dermatology. But then the interesting or the really slick thing that we have then is the simulation. So week 4 there is the red face, where again, the presentation is this, work out what the problem is, work out your first line treatment, work out your diagnoses, you know, eliminate what it isn't. And again, while the simulation can be worked on independently as you go through the content, the discussion and the tutorial are very, very collaborative. So, you know, we would really welcome people to bring their thoughts and ideas into the discussion. There's no wrong answers. It's a safe space for just your group. So I think I mentioned earlier that there's about 122 students on the current group. There's about 20 odd in each subgroup then. So again, you're not being expected to present to everybody. You'll get to know your small group. And again, one of the nice things about, I suppose, the programs that we run is you get to see people building these relationships with their kind of their peers as they go through the program. After that, then there's, like I said, there's the more specific presentations, so connective tissues, systemic disease, blistering skin as well. A lot of the content here is very visual, very image heavy. We're very aware and conscious of the fact that as a global course, we need to be able to show the different audience, the different skin tones and skin types. So it's it's relevant to everyone that's going to be joining this program. You can see there that there's the reading week and then there's the exam. So the assessments are highlighted in green there. And as I've already mentioned, the communication skills, the first one is actually formative, which means it's worth no grades. And then the module 1, so all your grade for module 1 is going to be based on that exam, which is nothing to be afraid of. I'll just touch on the exam really quickly. It's mostly multiple choice questions with a single best answer. There could be a couple of free text questions where you're given a case or you're asked a question, posed a question, and there's no options for the right answer. You actually write what your answer is. We used to call them essay questions, and people were like, because they heard the word essay. But really, it's going to be list 3, or it's going to be a bullet point here or there. We're not looking for epic theses here or treatises. We're just looking for what's the 1 word or 2 words to sum up what the answer is. There can also be what we call key feature problems, which again, you'll be introduced to a patient and there could be a few branching questions. These will reflect cases that you might see in real life, and they'll also be, varying degrees of difficulty as you go through those questions. However, all the questions are only, all the examinable material is in the core content. So, while there's an extensive recommended reading and required reading list, we're not going to be asking you about fringe topics at the borderline of the course material. If you do the reading, the weekly content, if you join in the discussions, and then if you come to your tutorials, you won't face anything in the exams that you haven't come across before. So just to mention then, module 2, then blocks 3, 4, and 5 look at, I suppose, emergencies. Then they look at regional dermatology, so your oral and your genital dermatology. And then you've got your cancers and your cosmetics. And there again, there's a communication skills tucked in halfway through that block or module, and an exam at the end. So you can see there's 20% then of that module is based on that communication skills. So while the first one is only formative, it's really important that you, I suppose, get comfortable in recording yourself and uploading. The exam then is worth 80%. And then block 6 or module 3, big asterisk there. This is subject to program board sign-off. It's in the process of going through QQI accreditation. So the assessment is TBC. So we're not sure yet if it's going to be another skills video and another exam, if it's going to be all an exam. That needs to be teased out by the program board, but that information will be circulated as soon as we have it. And then also the additional topics that we're posing or positing that we'll look at include child protection and non-accidental injury, STIs, monkeypox, human factors, biologic therapeutics, systematic agents, and then phototherapy. So again, really broadening the topic range. So I think by the time you come through the common presentations, the emergency presentations, the local, all the way through the kind of pigmented lesions, hair and pigment as well, like you'll be covering a huge range of areas that you'll be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So the program structure, and again, Matt, I might lean on you here just because you've been bringing the students through this. We start the program with an induction week where we will walk you through what the program looks like. We give a bit more detail into the scheme of assessment. I don't want to throw the kitchen sink at an info session. And then we also go through how people interact with Canvas. Then there's the weekly case discussions, which again, you can jump in anytime during the week and then go through the engaging e-learning content. That then ends with a weekly tutorial, which is live, 1 hour that we get you together with your small group. And then we end then the module or the block with your continuous assessment and exam. So just Matt, from your experience of, I suppose, bringing the students through the first running of this, have you found that there's, spikes of activity? Do people log on as soon as the next discussion is available? Do they post? Do people come on every other, is there any, I suppose, pattern to people's engagement, or is it completely bespoke? And are people approaching the topics and the weekly discussions at their own time?
I think I've seen there is a little bit of a pattern. I post the discussions, so they'll be available to the students the moment the previous week's tutorial finishes. So I've noticed there's a bit of a pattern of there are some students who'll jump on right after their tutorial and do it and then there are others who will do it later in the week, maybe even the same day as the tutorial after they've had a chance to go through that week's content in detail.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, again, I suppose this is where the alumni will often, as I say, keep us honest, and we'll be like, oh, people post every day, and they'll come on and be like, absolutely, we don't. So I think it's good to see that there is, it's a flexible delivery model. It's flexible to you. Really, the only time that we ask people to commit to their time slot is that weekly tutorial. And I suppose that, just to hone in on that really quickly, is the weekly tutorials, we're trying to move away from what we would call didactic teaching. These info sessions often feel completely at odds with how we like to approach the teaching at iheed, because it is just me chatting over slides, which is what we're trying to avoid in the tutorials. Instead, we have what we would call kind of facilitated discussions, where the tutor leads the discussion, but really does lean on the participants to bring their experience and their thoughts to proceedings. So as you've been sitting in on a lot of the tutorials, just to kind of see how people are getting on, how have you found the level of engagement? Is it the same people talking in the tutorials, or is it a broad audience? Do people get an option to, or an opportunity to speak if they want to?
So it seems to vary from group to group. Like we have one group in particular where there's two students who are quite bubbly, and you know what I mean. They have quite electric personalities, and that seems to help to stimulate the conversation. But I think in general, from what I've seen from across our tutor team, that if one student or two or three students are talking and no one else is really talking, they'll actually stop and politely ask, well, is there anyone else that wants to get involved in the conversation?
Brilliant. Yeah, no, because I think we try to keep our group sizes at around 25. We have gone up to 30 as the kind of the upper limit. And we feel that's like the sweet spot where people aren't too nervous. Like, no one wants to talk in front of 60 or 100 people. But we think, 25, 30, people get to know each other. And I think it's a really good point that you've made there that, each group dynamic is actually quite different. So there's no one size fits all here, so I think as long as everyone feels comfortable and safe and able to get their points across, that's what we're looking for. And then just the last thing I'll mention before I move on to the next slide is the discussions themselves. I remember with one of the other programs that we had, there was the gold standard answer was always posted within about 15 minutes of the discussion going live, and the kind of the star pupil would write or post about 2,000 words, and in my head they kind of just killed the discussion. It kind of almost became like individual blog posts. So I just, even at this point, even before people have joined the program, I want to really highlight that the discussion is an area for you to engage with people during the week. So yes, a case study is posted, but I want you to feel comfortable to, as you're going through material on the platform, just sort of say, look, I found this really interesting, or this is the first I've ever heard of this. Here's an article I recently read that kind of backs something up. I'd like it to be, I suppose, an informal space where the learning can continue. But again, each group really does kind of vary and live and die by the personalities that are there. I suppose as well, we don't have the data to back up what I believe to be the case, that the people who come to the tutorials, the people who engage on the discussions are the ones that will fly through the exam. Like that pattern is 100% accurate in all of the other programs that we run. So as soon as we have the data, I imagine that will be similar. So again, the more engagement, the better the output. Lisa had mentioned, that she's able to even access on the train on the way to the conference. She's still able to jump onto Canvas, our OLE or our online learning environment. Canvas is very slick, even in vanilla mode, But then we have a team of dedicated developers who have actually built bespoke content on top of that. It's highly engaging, highly intuitive, easy to navigate through. Again, this dermatology course is really, really visually stimulating as well. So again, keeps you engaged, keeps you wanting to click through. You know, there's lots of interactive quizzes, lots of videos, again, relevant case studies, patients that you'll meet and thread through the week or the weeks. It's really, really interesting the way it kind of all builds. And I suppose the other thing to mention there is it's anywhere, anytime, any device. So it's completely flexible. I'm on my laptop at the moment. I have the student app on my phone. Again, I find that really useful to be able to dip in and out of the discussions in particular on the move. Now that we're able to commute again, it's great to have that like little half hour to kind of dip in and out. But again, the course is being developed in such a way that if you're between patients and you have half an hour, or if you're on your lunch break, on your commute, again, you can dip in and I suppose come down into one of the subtopics or one of the smaller bite-sized chunks and just, you know, keep on top of the material. I suppose little and often would often be the way that I would approach kind of, you know, studies. Again, so patient cases. So again, you'll be introduced to real life cases, things that you will definitely come across in your actual practice. Looking at the consultations all the way through the focus on the clinical decision making and management. What would you do? You know, initial investigations, initial diagnoses, treatments. The patient returns in 2 weeks. This has now happened. What do you do next? So again, it's almost like a game, or almost like a kind of an interactive simulation going through patient care. The assessments I've touched on, so the only thing I'll I suppose touch on here is that there's 2 attempts at each assessment. So again, we aren't here to try and trip you up. We don't want you to, you know, stumble. We don't want you to feel a lot of pressure at these recordings for the communication skills. And as I said, the exams themselves won't have fringe topics or really, really difficult or out there subjects for you to cover. However, if for whatever reason you are unfortunate and do not pass on your first attempt, you will be given a chance to either resubmit a video or repeat the exam. It allows you to, I suppose, just have that additional comfort that there's a second attempt there. But I will just, again, asterisk, your second attempt is capped at the pass mark. So it doesn't matter then if you do put in the Hollywood soundtrack and the special effects after the best video we've ever seen, it'll still only get the pass rate. So we do want you to put your best foot forward at the beginning. I suppose this is also a good point to just mention that we have very, very student-focused or student-oriented policies in place, as do RCPI. And as I said, our job, Matt's team, we're all here to help you get through this. You know, there's a pastoral care element here where we want to support you through the program. And we can't do that unless we have all the information. So I'd rather you came to me or Matt early in the course and said, look, something's happening. I don't think I'm going to be able to get my video in, or I'm not going to be able to sit an exam. Because if we're told beforehand, we can put policy, utilize the supportive policies and help you get through it. Whereas if you come to us after the fact and you come and say, well, like, look, I failed that exam because X, Y, Z, it's a lot harder for us to, I suppose, unspool or pick away at how that happens. So if you can be proactive, then we can be proactive and we can support you through this. So I suppose, what does it mean for you looking to sign up? So small groups, as I've mentioned, 25 per group. We try to keep it the limit. It allows everyone to, again, feel like they get a chance to speak during the sessions. Modular blocks, 26 weeks of content. So there's a lot to cover, but we think it's well paced. And again, there's a flexibility in the structure and the delivery model as well. There's a personal commitment. This is, again, is where the alumni will be handy in about 6 months' time to be able to say, absolutely not, I did it all in 2 hours, or you need to double it. But our estimation is that about 5 hours a week. So that's 1 hour for presenting for the tutorial, and then 4 hours spread over the rest of the week to get through the content. And again, that could be 10, 15 minutes every other day on the discussion board if it's super lively, It could be 2 minutes at the start of the week to get your thoughts in for the discussion, and then the rest of the time could be going through the content. Again, different learners, different styles of or methods of learning, different approaches to how they want to engage with the content. And then there's strong support. So there's individual assistance. You're going to have your tutor who will be kind of looking after you on a weekly basis. You can contact them through the inbox or through the chat throughout the course as well, but you'll see them once a week. There's peer support. So again, online learning can be lonely, can be isolating, but you're in a group of about 25 people who are doing the same thing as you are. So you lean on each other for support. Then there's Matt and his team, including myself and Dermot, who's the Director of Academic Affairs. There's a whole committed team in the background here in iheed. As well as that, then we've got technical support and student support as well. So if it's something as easy as, this image won't load for me, we can see if the technical team can work out what the issue is. And then, as I mentioned, then RCPI also have supports in place as well. So there's a huge network in the background, all wanting you to succeed. And so I suppose, again, just to reach out as soon as you need to. And again, that's just to, again, flick through all the supports available to you. The program lead, who Matt also mentioned, is Cahill. He tutors on the program at the moment, but he's also there. I suppose if there's common issues coming up, or if there's something that we need clarification on. And then I mentioned that there's a program board that are ratifying or confirming the module 3 content. They are also there as part of a steering committee. So again, there's a huge oversight, a huge kind of, I suppose, link over this program to make sure that everyone that's on it gets through it. There's the leadership. So we've got the iheed program lead is Carl O'Connor, and the RCPI program lead is Dr. Michelle Murphy. Both dermatologists based down in Cork, experienced lecturers. They have helped devise and develop the course material from the ground up. And so they have an intimate knowledge of everything that's on the course. So as I said, if there's ever any issues, we've got 2 people on speed dial that can help us. Again, in lieu of there being an alumni, what we've managed to do is after the first block, we gave a student survey. And so here's just 3 things, I suppose, to kind of pick out in particular. So there's the flexibility. The app is user-friendly. Notes are packed yet simple to read and digest. And I love the classes every week because it's interactive between the tutor and colleagues. So again, this isn't didactic learning. It isn't you come and you sit quietly and listen to what the specialist has to say. This is everyone brings their own experiences and learns from each other. Again, so the discussions get mentioned a few times about, stimulates the thinking, the online platform, so Canvas, and the notes therein. Again, common themes coming through the survey. And then the last one there just again talks about the materials provided, great about hearing other people's experiences. They can bring their own experiences here as well. So again, common threads of people enjoying the flexibility, the content, the interactivity, and the support that's there as well. So eligibility then, Rebecca at the outset had mentioned that this is open to for doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and dentists. So apologies if you joined after you heard that and you're not within that category. And then it's a really, really straightforward application process for those of you that fall into that category. What we need is your original university certificate, so an NDDS or equivalent, that will, I suppose, just allow us to prove that you are who you say you are. A formal identification then, so driver's license, passport, national identity card. We need to see your face, we need to see your date of birth, and we need to see your name. So those are the 3 things that need to be on your ID. And then a personal statement. And again, a bit like the skills assessment, some people get a bit nervous about a personal statement. It's nothing to be afraid of. We're looking for about 400 words. And it's really just, I suppose, to see your suitability for the course. So just give a little bit of a background about who you are, where you studied, and where you're currently working. Your interest in the area of dermatology. So are you currently working in it? Are you looking to work in that field? Again, where did you hear about this course? What do you hope to gain from the course? honestly, by the time that you've done a few words or a few sentences on each of those things, you're close to the 400 mark. And like I said, it's a touch point for us to, I suppose, just double check that you are interested, capable, going to get through the course. That second bullet point actually is just one to focus on really quickly. While IELTS isn't a requirement, the program, the materials, the discussions, the tutorials, the exams, the assessments, everything is through English. So again, I suppose that personal statement has a secondary benefit for us. If your personal statement reads really well, you're going to cope absolutely fine with the content, with the exams. If the personal statement is 8 words long, then I think there could be a potential worry about your ability to get through the program. So that's just something to mention. But while it's not a formal part of the eligibility criteria, it is something that we just need to flag from the outset. So then the important stuff then, the fee for the course is 3,600. The deposit of 600 will allow you to, I suppose, book a space on the course. And then that balance then of 3,000 can be paid a number of ways. The finance team have made me put in the first option because they would love people to pay the balance in full. But I suppose the more likely options would be, 2 what we call semester payments, splitting the bill in half, or else there's the flexible option of 6 monthly payments of 500. Again, some of our master's programs do have scholarships available. That messaging sometimes gets confused across all of our programs. So we just have to highlight here and now that there are no scholarships available for this program. As I said, the deposit will book your space on the program while you get your application complete. So, if you need to spend some time writing a personal statement, or if you need to approach your university to get a copy of your certificate, whatever it might be, whatever cause or issue there is to delay your application, that deposit will secure your space. So the student experience, again, we don't have, apart from the first block survey. So what we've actually done is taken, we also run 3 other programs with RCPI. So what we've taken here is a snapshot of the student experience in general. As I mentioned, iheed, we've been around since 2013. We've run over 400,000, close to 500,000 courses. So again, I suppose it's just to give you comfort that we know what we're doing and we know that we do it quite well. So we've had over 1,000 learners on the RCPI programs from 41 countries. That's actually specific just to the pediatrics program. Across all of the programs, we've had 92% student engagement. So that is people engaging in the discussions, it's people attending the tutorials, and it's people, I suppose, they're called impressions. So people who click through the content on Canvas. So we can see the student activity. We've had 100% positive feedback on the learning experience. So again, with those surveys, the students are vital to the success of iheed. And the people who come before you pave the way for you. And similarly, you will then pave the way for the people that come after you. So between the student surveys and between the focus groups, we actually will get a lot of feedback from you on how to implement any changes that are needed on the program. And then we have a 98% completion rate. And I think that shows that the students that come onto the course tend to be very dedicated. It proves my point that the exams aren't here to trip you up. There's a certificate at the end of it, so there has to be assessments. But again, we're not looking to trip people up. There's no repeat exam fees, for example. So, it's not in our benefit, or it's not in our, it's no benefit to us to have people failing and failing and failing and repeating the exam. You only get 2 opportunities or 2 chances at each assessment. If people stumble at the first block, they tend to, based on the feedback given and the confidence that they get from that, they tend to get through on the second attempt. So that's a 98% completion rate across the programs. And then this is the last slide, just I suppose a kind of a catch-all really quickly. 26 weeks of taught content. As I said, closer to about 35 by the time all of the reading weeks, all of the weeks off, the time that it takes for the program board to ratify and to print and start sending out the certificates. Open to registered doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and dentists. Sorry, I haven't updated that slide. Offering an innovative online experience. The output then is the professional diploma in dermatology from the RCPI. Again, big asterisk here. No mention of iheed, no mention of online learning or blended learning. Recognized globally. Places are filling fast. As I've mentioned, we try to cap each group at about 25 to 30, and groups are done by time zone. So again, that 600 deposit will book your space on the program while you gather the necessary documents that you require. That is the last slide I have. I will stop sharing the screen, and I will just, I know you've heard a lot of my voice. I will just check in with Matt and see if he has any, I suppose, last parting words before I then check in with Josh to see that we've answered the questions in the chat appropriately, or if there's any that we need to highlight. So just Matt, I suppose, just any parting words of wisdom, or any, if someone's on the fence about joining, what would you say to them about coming on board?
I suppose the one thing that I would echo above all else is the flexibility and the fact that we are here and willing to help you. I mean, there's been plenty of students that they'd email me and they're worried about the workload or whatever, and I just want to say that I'm willing to take the time and like even talk through things like study plans with you and that sort of thing, you know. So it might seem like a daunting task at the start, but I just want to reiterate that we are here to help and make sure that you have the best experience possible with iheed.
Thank you very much, Matt. No, and again, yeah, just thank you for your time, as well as Lisa's. You know, thank you for taking the evening to come and have a bit of a chat, and to, you know, just, I suppose, be the friendly face of iheed and try and coax a few more people to keep us employed come August.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, that would be fantastic to see as many of you on the program as possible. I suppose I'll just double check in with Josh. Are there any chat questions that I should highlight or cover again, or is the chat, like, normally the chat's all right, so we don't need to go into anything?
Yeah, I think myself and Nolik have covered the majority of questions. We've had great interaction, so we're very thankful. There is a couple now just after coming out towards the end. So one, does it guarantee registration and the GMC for non-registered pharmacists?
I would need to double check that. Damn it, give me the soft questions, Josh.
I don't think it would actually guarantee registration. You probably would have to sit that individually or separately. We have another couple. Do you require a long beard? That's a good question.
Only if you want to be
Yes.
part of the team. Like, yeah,
Yes.
you can be baby faced if you want to come through as a student, but if you want to be part of the team, you've got to have a big beard.
If I am registered in the GMC in the UK, how can this diploma help me?
So I suppose, again, it depends on where you are in your journey and what your interests are. You know, this will give you a focus in a range of the dermatological topics. It would give you a refresher on the course. I think one of the quotes that we had from the student was that it's great for both ends of the spectrum. And I think Lisa also mentioned that, you know, it's not going to confer any specialist status, but it will give you a very, I suppose, strong comfort in depth of knowledge of how to diagnose, how to treat, how to identify. So again, it'll just improve patient care, I suppose, is the main benefit from the program.
Absolutely. From your experience with students, does this diploma help pharmacists to lead dermatology clinics? It's probably a bit early to answer that question, seeing as we're just in the middle of the first intake.
I think what I would say is from my experience of the other programs that we run, like so one of our absolute gold pupils from the diabetes program was a pharmacist who then started running clinics from his pharmacy on diabetes care. So again, it will completely improve your confidence level. It will give you I suppose a level of knowledge that you can impart to others. So the short answer is I would think yes. Slightly longer answer is I'll have to wait until the first few pharmacists have made it through the course and see how they get on.
Great. Could you provide some more details about engagement on the program? So I think that person maybe just joined a little bit late, but you've covered that pretty extensively.
So I think for the engagement, it's a very flexible course for engagement, and it's built so that you can engage at your pace, at your level. So there's a weekly discussion, which is open for the whole week. You can dip in and out as you need to. There's the course content itself has kind of reflective questions and touch points and quizzes that will allow you to, I suppose, self-evaluate or self-test as you go through. There's the hour-long tutorial at the end of the week. Now, I say end of the week. I should probably clarify. Some of the groups are on Wednesday evenings, some are on Thursday evenings, and then we've got Friday mornings for the people who are, again, grouped by time zone. So the Friday mornings for us is like GCC mid-morning or Australia, Malaysia evening. And then for those of you who have joined this webinar, I'm going to assume you're going to be in this time zone. So your classes will be 7 p.m., half 7 p.m., depending on tutor availability on either a Wednesday or a Thursday. So I say at the end of the week, and Matt has mentioned that the discussion goes live the day after the tutorial. So your week for us could go from like Thursday to Wednesday. Anyway, I'm kind of waxing lyrical here. Basically, the engagement is discussion, course content that you can access at any time, and the hour-long tutorial where you meet with your specific group and your specific tutor. If you do miss them for whatever reason, and again, life can get in the way, work rotas can change, they are recorded. So sessions can be caught up with after the fact, but again, massive caveat, attendance is tracked, it's monitored, and it is highly, highly recommended. It's much better to be actively part of the conversation, particularly for these tutorials, which are more like facilitated discussions. If you just catch up on it later, it's almost like watching a podcast. You can't interact as much, or you can't get your questions answered in real time. But it is there as a backup if, for whatever reason, you missed it.
Great, thank you. And then the final one here, Seema asked, how can I get to know more about the program information? So one of our members of our education advisory team will reach out to everyone who attended this evening over the next couple of days to see if you have any follow-up queries and if you'd like some more information about the program.
Perfect.
So I think we've answered everything.
Yeah,
let me just have a little double check.
But sure, I'll just, while you're checking, I'll just say, look, thanks again to everyone who has joined. I know you've taken time out of your evening. Hope you find it beneficial. Hope we've answered some of your questions. And like I said, I hope you get to see me and Matt in the near future.
Yeah, I think there actually might be just another couple popped in the bottom here. Will it help secure a GP training or dermatological training in Ireland? I don't think it necessarily helps secure it, but it will absolutely be excellent preparation for it. That's one of the main motivators we see in our students who come onto the program. They do have aspirations to go on and specialize in dermatology and do think that they feel that this is really excellent preparation. So for that, I would say yes. We have another couple here. When is the next intake after the August intake? I can tell you that now. 1 second. Will be the 21st of November. Yeah, November. Thank you.
The course runs between 3 and 4 times a year. So this one specifically was for, or this webinar is specifically for the August intake. But again, when you're talking to the sales advisors, they can let you know.
Yeah, and we actually have applications open for the November intake as well. Just somebody here has asked, can they be added to a waiting list to book for the next intake? You can actually go ahead and reserve your place for the November intake at the moment with a deposit payment if you're sure that's the intake that will suit you.
Brilliant.
Then if you do get GMC registration in Ireland, so that'd be the RCPI, will the program help you to practice? Absolutely, it'll improve your employability. Obviously, if you're going for a role in a dermatology clinic and you have this over, for example, another candidate, it's absolutely going to help. It's also going to be excellent experience then for yourself going into that role. So yeah, it will help, absolutely. Will the exams be online? Nulik has just answered that. Yeah, everything is online. It's a fully online program.
Yeah, again,
so I think that's it.
nothing to be nervous about. The exams, there's a mock exam to get you used to the online process, because this could be the first time people are doing it. It's one of the reasons why we need that formal identification. We need to prove that it's you doing the exam. And then once you've answered the security question, the paper is released to you. Your camera is monitored. The session is recorded, just so that we have it in case anything happens. And then basically the questions are released to you. You sit it in your own time. But we would recommend that you have a stable connection in a nice quiet space. No kids knocking at the door, no one else on a laptop behind you. General exam rules in place, even though it's online. It's still invigilated. But yeah, absolutely nothing to worry about. And as I said, there'll be a mock exam to get you speed and comfortable with the process.
Great. Yeah, I think that's it. We've covered everything.
Okay, yeah. Beard discounts, or discounts if you got a beard as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope you have a good evening.
Yeah, everyone, thank you very much for joining. Have a good evening.
Thank you.